But first, I always like to ask my guests, how is it that you came to choose Jesus? Can you share that story with us today?
Well, I'm going to share in my crushing season how I surrendered all to Jesus. But I'll
Okay.
tell you my salvation story, which is kind of sweet, actually.
Yeah.
I lived in Newark, California, and I was in the third grade, and we lived on a cul-de-sac, and I was sitting on the corner. They had bricks around the house, and I was sitting there. Just back in those days, we can go out there and play and not have supervision. I was in the third grade, and a yellow bus came by, and they honked their horn, and they opened up their doors, and they said, "Hey, you want to come to church?" And I was like, yeah. So I ran home, asked my mom if I could go to church. And she said, sure, go ahead. And jumped on a bus. She didn't know nothing. Jumped on a bus, and off I went to church. And it was a Baptist church. And it was a cute little church. So we went, and I think I went with my neighbor. So I wasn't like alone. And so I started going there every Wednesday night and then on Sunday nights or Sundays in the days. And I remember being this young little girl in third grade in the middle pew, and the pastor was pastoring, but he did the salvation call. And he just got so emotional. He was looking around the room, and he was just saying to come to Jesus, choose Jesus. And I looked to the left. I wanted them to choose Jesus. And I looked to the right, and I wanted somebody raise their hand, and nobody was raising their hand. So I, the third grade person, I felt so much that I wanted to choose Jesus. And he had his eyes, and they just welted up, because the pastor was just really wanting someone to raise their hand, and I was the only one that did. And he just got like, here's this young girl that chooses Jesus. So that's my salvation. I just think it's so sweet from way back when. That was the beginning. God chose me way long time ago, even in my mother's womb, but that was the day. And I don't remember yesterday, but I remember that day, and it was so precious.
Sorry about that. That's beautiful and wonderful. And there's something just so sweet about choosing Jesus as a child.
I know.
Just that innocence of discovering God when you're just young like that. It's just such a sweet and pure union with the Father. So praise God for a preacher and for a church who invited you, and
yes,
for your bravery, because sometimes it can be scary, right? Like you said, you were looking to the right, to the left. You're like, somebody's going to do it, but you can't wait for other people to come to Jesus. You have to come to Jesus when he calls you.
I wanted him. I wanted it. I wanted what he was saying. And at the time, that's all I remember. I don't remember the story before or after, but I remember that moment that I said yes, absolutely. Yeah. So that was my first time, and then so he's been pursuing me. So I love to share how, from a time, I'll share my testimony if you want me to go ahead and get started on that. And I started, my before Christ story is really a child. I was a child raising a child. So you don't know, Crystal, that I'm a baby of 5. And my mom and dad were from Oakland, California. So that's where I was born. And then I came, and they bought a home in Newark, California. So I was raised there most of my life until I ended up moving out. But my story really begins in brokenness, because it happened right away. I was a teenager. It happens in those years. If you don't have parents that have boundaries and guidance over the teenagers, we're gonna go places we're not supposed to go.
That's right.
And so if any teenager hears this, we're only doing it out of love, because we want to protect you and give you those boundaries. Well, I was a teenager who grew up in a home, and we didn't have any boundaries. Not my mother, sweet as apple pie. She had her hands full, right? I'm the baby of five. So what happened was I'm out and about. I'm out and about. I'm a sweet girl. I'm a good girl, but
Yeah.
there's freedom. And so,
Mhm.
I ended up going at 13. I went out to someone's house, someone's party. I went to a party at 13, and there was a cute guy in there that had long hair. Back in those days, they had the long hair, right? I don't know how old you are, Crystal, but back in those days, they had cute long hair. And
Mhm.
he was funny and cute, and he pursued me. And so we became boyfriend and girlfriend, and I got pregnant by the age of 14.
Wow.
I was pregnant by the age of 14, and by 15, I had my daughter, Sarah.
Wow.
So, so I was a child raising a child, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Eventually, I got pregnant again, and by the same father, Stephen. And I did try and get on birth control, but the birth control back then that the doctor recommended was something. It's too personal, but it wasn't healthy for me, and I had to have it removed. And I got pregnant again, and now I'm pregnant now with my son, Stephen. So I have now my son, Stephen, and Sarah from the same father, and these are my teenage years. I have a
Wow.
granddaughter that's 15, and I look at her, I'm like,
Right.
how? How does that even
Yeah.
happen? My God, my God. But
Right.
like I said, I had no one really guiding me, and so the cycle continued. So now I spent the next 8 years in this relationship. As a teenager, I had a
Mhm.
boyfriend, and unfortunately, it wasn't a good one. He was
Mhm.
controlling, he was physically, at times, abusive, slapping me
Mhm.
around or just controlling me and wouldn't let me go. Like I was in his grip. Very verbally abusive too. Sarah remembers, because I was 15 and she's now 5, 6, 7 years old. She says, Mom, I remember when he treated you
Wow.
that way. But I didn't know how to leave, Crystal, because truthfully, I didn't know my worth.
Yeah.
Did not know my worth. And you know what? I didn't know love. I didn't know God yet, even though I took the salvation call in the third grade. I didn't walk in that. No one showed me how to do that from there.
Mhm.
And so that's what happened. I never finished high school. This girl right here, I mean, it really was a time where that really bothered me, but I
Mhm.
moved on from that. You have to. But I
Yeah.
didn't finish high school because when I got pregnant, they said you can't be in this high school with the big, with the being pregnant. So they sent me to um, continuation. Continuation. And so that's where I went. I was pregnant. I would go to the classroom, and I remember feeling so invisible because when I got there, all I had to do was sign in, sit there, get out a piece of whatever work they had for the day, and do something with it and put it in the basket and then go home. I did it day in and day out. And you know what? Nobody noticed that I came in. Nobody noticed that I left. So I ended up leaving. And I
Mm.
never even finished GED or the
Yeah.
continuation. Nobody cared if I was there or not. So I just stopped going. And um, being raising now two children, of course, now I'm on welfare and food stamps. Thank God I had a place to live, which was with my mom and dad. I still lived there. I was a baby of, 5. And so now we had a bedroom, we had 3 bedrooms at the time. And I was in one of the rooms with my 2 sisters, and there was a bassinet in the room. So we had a full house, and I was there raising my kids. So at this time, I was able to break free from the toxic relationship of the father. He ended up in jail. And as strange as this may sound, it became my escape. I was able now to, not have him in my life. So now
Mhm.
what am I going to do without even that? Now I'm a single mom and I'm doing my best, right? So now part two of my story, that was the raising of the children and being a single mom. Now, part two, this is my crushing season.
Yay!
Yeah,
Yeah, you just when you thought it was already
girl.
challenging, right? Already hard being a single
Yes.
mom, teenager, now you're going into your crushing.
Now we're going into the crushing season. Oh, Lord have mercy. So, on welfare, when I was on welfare, I had a social worker. She says, uh, time to get off welfare. You need to go down. Back then, it was go down the unemployment and you go find a job, and it's got to be any job, and you're going to have this amount of time to get off welfare. Well, you know what, sis? That to me was someone giving me guidance, because I would have
Mm,
sat there for who knows how long raising those
yeah,
kids with a little, it was like, you have to do this.
yeah,
My mom or dad didn't give me those guidance of like, look, you got to do these things. No, I don't know what would have happened, but I believe seriously that that was God
yeah,
changing the trajectory of where I was going.
yeah. Thank you, God.
Amen to that. And so that one sentence from the welfare social worker pushed me into finding employment. And I found a job in the real estate industry. Started off in customer service. Then I went my way through years and years of, then I got into being an escrow in the
Okay.
title and escrow community. Then I pushed from there and got into sales. I'm telling you, my job kept getting, and my
Yeah,
career
you worked through.
kept really, climbing, climbing,
That's good.
climbing. So God does. He takes you from glory to glory to glory.
Thank you,
And
God.
it was so beautiful that he took this young single mom, no education, children, but he carried me all the way. And I really didn't know him that well yet, right?
Mm,
So
yeah,
he was giving me a way, not only out, but since he was giving me a way up. He was giving me a way up
yeah,
higher, man. And I started making enough money where I did get off welfare. I did get off the food stamps. But now I'm in my 20s and I'm trying to figure this life out that I did. And so what do? I don't know really Christ yet. I
yeah,
just really don't know him yet. So I looked for love, right? In all the wrong places. That song, Look for Love, right?
yeah.
And
I
that
remember that one.
happened. I bounced from relationship to relationship to relationship. I went out every Friday night, Saturday night, and I went out on Thursday night too. Sometimes Wednesday night. I mean, that's where I was finding my identity. Was
Yeah.
sorry, but it was the truth in the clubs. And
Hmm.
I didn't know where I was going. I was lost. Going to work during the day, clubs at night, but I did go to church on Sunday. I did. I said to the girls on Saturday night, "Look, it's 12 o'clock. I got to go home because I'm going to church on Sunday." So
Yeah,
I just knew that I was going in that direction, and that's where it gave me peace. But I still was so lost, sis.
yeah,
I was so lost. So a young woman going through all of this stuff, I was empty inside, and eventually in my 30s, though. So now you're going to get to know me even more. So in my 30s, it goes by fast. Those 20s,
hmm
I